There are thousands of foundation models out there, and most of them just sit on Hugging Face collecting dust. The gap between here is a cool model and here's something people actually use is massive. And honestly, that gap is where most of the real work actually happens. So I'm starting this series to show you exactly how to cross this gap, step by step. No polished results, no cherry picking demos, just the real process. My name is Mathias. I'm co-founder and CTO of Liquid AI, where I lead the development of our liquid foundation models. So I've done this process many times, and I want to share not just what works, but also why. This is a series called Build in Public, from foundation model to product. And the idea is simple. We start with a pre-trained foundation model and we turn it into something that is actually useful. That means fine-tuning, evaluation, getting the right data, and making deployment easy. Here is what we'll cover. First, how to evaluate the model properly before you even start fine-tuning. How to find and curate the right training data. The fine-tuning process itself. What to tune and how much. And when to stop. And finally, also how we can deploy and ship these models. I won't just show you the final results. I will show you the entire process, including the dead ends and the mistakes. This is the build in public part. Now you may think, why not just use ChatGPT and API models? Why not go all through the hustle of fine-tuning our own model? There are three main reasons. First is cost. If you're serving millions of requests, API calls to a frontier model get expensive really fast. A small fine-tuned model can be 10, 100, or 1,000 times cheaper to run and operate. Second, deployment. A small model can run on a phone, can run on the edge, can run on-prem on your laptop. You can put it wherever you want. Try doing that with GPT and so on. Third is control. You own the weights. No API dependency, no surprise pricing changes, no terms of service update that breaks production overnight. Your model, your infrastructure, your rules. And honestly, for real-world applications, a well-fine-tuned small model will beat general-purpose giant models on your specific task. That is what this series is about. One more thing about the series. I'll be using coding agents throughout the entire process. Tools like Cloud Code, OpenAI Codex, and other open source toolings. Not because they're gimmick, but because this is generally how the future of coding and development looks like. And I want to show you the important and modern workflows that we are using in-house to build scalable ML infrastructure. You will see me use and build these tools in real time for everything from writing the training scripts, data processing, the pipelines, and sometimes they're amazing. Sometimes it will break and you have to steer and correct the models because they're going rogue, but that's all part of the process. So let's get into what I actually built in the first episode. When you fine-tune a model, you need training data. And increasingly, people use large language models themselves to generate these training data. The problem is LLM outputs are often very repetitive and lack diversity. If you ask a model to generate 100 examples of something, you will get maybe 10 unique ideas, just rephrased and shuffled 100 different times. Think about it. You ask a model, write a short story. The main character is probably named Alex or Sarah. They'll probably live in a bustling city, and the story probably ends with a heartwarming realization every single time. This becomes a real problem when you want to generate training data because there is obviously lack diversity. But when you fine-tune a model, it will means that you will collapse. To avoid this problem, I built a Python tool called liquidrandom. And the idea is very simple. Instead of hoping that the LLM will just be creative and high diversity on its own, we'll inject randomness into the data generation prompts. This package in total gives you access to around 300,000 different seed data points that you can use to diversify your data, like personas, jobs, names, different traits, random writing styles, scenarios, science topics, coding tasks, and many more. Here's how it works in practice. Say you want to generate training data for a science explanation task. You'll call liquidrandom.persona to get a full fleshed out character. You will then call liquidrandom.science_topic to get a science topic. Now you call liquidrandom.writing_style and you get a random writing style. Now you combine those three unique things to get a very unique prompt that you can then use for generating very diverse data. Different perspectives, different topics, different tone, all of that is covered already in the prompt and randomized properly. I built this in about 2 hours using coding agents. I will share the full link to the video if you want to see the entire process. To give you a high-level overview how Liquid Random works under the hood. Under the hood, the seed data was generated using a hierarchical taxonomy tree. So instead of just randomly generating persona in a list, we built a tree of possible attributes, nationalities, age ranges, personality types, and so on in a tree form to ensure coverage. After generation, everything went through a quality and fuzzy deduplication step to remove closest near duplicates. The C data itself is actually hosted on Hugging Face in a compressed format. And when we call a function in the Python package, it just downloads it, everything in the background and caches it locally. After that, all successive calls of the randomizer are instant. No more downloads. The package is fully open source. I published it on PyPy, so you can just pip install it and use it in your production and other workflows. So that's just episode 1. I've built a data diversity tool that solves real problems that you face in a fine-tuning pipeline. And this is exactly the kind of things that this series is about. Not about grand theory, but actual practical tools and decisions that move you from I have a model to I want to build a product. In the next episode, we'll enhance Liquid Random with additional types of data, of seed data. And then in the following episodes, we'll generate evaluation as well as training data, and then cover the fine-tuning process itself. If you want to follow along, I will link the Liquid Random package and all of the full coding session in the description. And if you have a question or suggestion that I should cover in the series, drop them in the comments. See you in the next episode.